The House will come to order. Introduction of bills. The following House files have been offered for introduction today. The clerk will report the House files and give them their first reading.
Introduction of first reading of House Files 1 through 13.
First reading, House Files 1 through 13.
I just changed right now. Messages from the Senate?
Messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate. This is to notify you that the Senate is now duly organized for the 2019 special session pursuant to the Minnesota Constitution, Minnesota statutes. Cal R. Ludeman, Secretary of the Senate. That's wrong. Message to the Senate. Madam Speaker, I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following Senate file herewith transmitted. Senate file number 1, and the message is signed Cal R. Ludeman, Secretary of the Senate. First reading, Senate files.
First reading, Senate file.
First reading, Senate file number 1, an act relating to state government, establishing a budget for the Department of Agriculture. Pursuant to Article 4, Section 19 of the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, Winkler moves that the rule therein be suspended and an urgency be declared, and that the rules of the House be so far suspended so that Senate file number 1 be given its second, third readings and be placed upon its final passage.
Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, this is a motion to suspend the rules to pass the Agriculture and Housing Bill, and I would ask for a yes vote.
Representative Daudt.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I appreciate that my members have had enough time to actually review the contents of this bill, and I think we've read through it. We've absorbed what's in it, which is the way we think the process around here should work. So I would encourage members to support this motion to suspend the rules to take up this bill.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails.
Clerk will give the bill its second reading.
The clerk will give the bill its second reading.
Second reading, Senate file number 1.
Second reading.
You do if there's no amendments or... It's in front of us right now. If there's no amendments at the desk, you can tell me to give it a third reading.
There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate file number 1.
Third reading. To the bill, Representative Pawlowski.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. This is the bill that was up before the body Monday evening, and unfortunately we ran out of time. Subsequently, this bill was then heard in the Ag Finance Committee on Wednesday. It has also had 8 times in conference committee for a total of 10 hours of hearings. I think everyone has exhaustively reviewed the material in the Ag portion of the bill, and that is what I'm going to speak to now, and my speech on that is over, except to thank Representative Poppe, who has been the architect of the Ag section and has done extraordinary work, not just with the members of this caucus and the members of the Republican caucus, but also with all those elements of agriculture across the state. Madam Speaker, with that, I will conclude my comments, and I believe Representative Hausman now has comments to make on the portion dealing with housing.
Representative Hausman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Members, our target was a bit less than when it left the House, 15 million total. 5 million of that is one time. That entire amount we put into the Challenge program, which was created in 1999. Thank you, Representative Gunther. To address the workforce housing shortage, and it's become one of the more helpful funds because of its flexibility for a variety of eligible projects. Also, Homework Starts with Home, for those students whose success is threatened by homelessness. Bridges, which provides housing assistance for individuals with very low incomes and a mental illness. Workforce Homeownership Program, a number of them. You will see in the bill a lot of language around modular homes, manufactured homes, and mobile home parks. That's an emerging use that people see as a very affordable bit of housing, and so changes in some policy go along with that. So a good bit of the bill is that. a lot of stakeholder involvement, as well as Representative Howard and Representative Salk have had an interest in that, and will continue some of that. So with that, that is a quick summary of the bill.
Representative Gunther.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Members, I was on the conference committee, and I think Chairman Poppe and Chairman Hausman did a wonderful job with what they had to work with. I think it was a balanced bill, a bill that I would be very happy to sign at any time. And I think it addressed as much as we could address the needs of housing and the concerns of agriculture. There's a total of $8 million for agricultural dairymen. And I think it was a very good honor to be on that conference committee. Thank you.
The member from Roseau, Representative Fabian.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I want to say thank you to Chair Poppe for the good work that she did on this bill. And I felt bad on, I believe it was Monday evening, when she was put in a bad position. And she's such a great member of this body, and quite frankly, she deserved better than that. But that being said, and I appreciate the work that's been done in the conference committee, but I also appreciate the work that's been done all session long to put this bill together. I think that agriculture is really one of the backbones of our economy in the state of Minnesota, and the work that those in the ag sector do, family farmers and other associated businesses with them, recognize the importance of agriculture. The state of Minnesota has a very, very large natural resource-based economy, and it's not just agriculture, it's also timber and mining are very, very important to our economy. Specifically in the bill, I do think that it's one of the things that I was interested in, and I worked with members on both sides of the aisle, was the money that's in the bill for the elk and wolf depredation claims, working with the Department of Agriculture and the DNR to be able to get reimbursement for damage that's done either to crops by the elk up in northwest Minnesota, or the damage that's done to livestock by timber wolves. Also, I think it's important to point out that there's some money here in this bill as well for rural mental health grants. We've heard a lot about agriculture and the farm economy at this time. It's a very stressful time. We're fortunate in northwestern Minnesota, it's hard to believe, but our crops are in the ground. And when I talk to the rest of you here who represent various areas around the state, there's not a whole lot of work that's being done because of the extremely wet conditions. So we're thankful for that. We hope that the weather clears up and that everybody is able to get their crops in the ground. Representative Keel is interested, I know, in the $5 million for the soybean innovation processing plant. That's going to be a cooperative agreement up in the Crookston area. And then also, I know Chair Anderson is around someplace. Oh, he's here. He probably wants to talk about the dairy subsidies or the dairy program that's in here and the money that's available for that. And I also know that, pardon me, Madam Speaker, I also know that Chair Hamilton is interested in speaking to the bill. I don't want to, just needlessly, what's it called? I think Majority Leader Winkler would refer to it as persistent irrelevance. I don't want to do that on the ag bill. So with that, members, thank you. I would encourage a green vote on this ag bill.
The member from Pope, Representative Anderson.
Madam Speaker and members, yes, I echo a lot of the comments made so far. This is a good bill. It's a solid bill. It sends the ag people in the state that we support them. We believe that what is being done in ag is important to Minnesota's economy. A couple of things I would like to highlight in the bill, in addition to the dairy provisions. We're going to give help the dairy producers, and targeting this to the operations about 700 cows and fewer, the smaller family farm operations, helping them pay the premiums with the new federal margin protection plan, which is an encouragement for them to sign up for this program and guarantee that they can at least make the cost of production. Things aren't going so well in dairy right now, but some of the future months appear to be.
Members, please take your conversations off of the House floor into the retiring room. Your voices carry in this space, and members deserve to hear Representative Anderson. Representative Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And just to show these dairy people that we support what they do and the important job they have in Minnesota. Another provision that we worked on this year, along with a study group from the Department of Ag, they convened a kind of a task force to look at the situation with grain elevators. We've had another elevator that went bankrupt this past year and really put some farmers in a difficult position. They had hauled grain in and the elevator couldn't cover it, and some big losses there. And the elevator did have what's called some basic insurance policy, but I think it paid back 10 to 15 cents on the dollar from what the farmers had in grain and checks coming from the elevator. So we looked at that, and the main provision that this bill contains is a requirement that those elevators that are grain buyers and don't store grain, they had kind of a loophole previous to this in that they did not have to submit to any kind of financial auditing. And now with this bill, if they are a grain buyer and to purchase up to $5 million worth of produce a year, goods and produce, grain, they would have to have a level of auditing done. And I think that's a good thing to help prevent more financial difficulties in elevators. The bill also goes a long way in working on industrial hemp, and that program of raising hemp is really attractive to a lot of people in agriculture. Not a lot of margins to be made in our traditional corn soybean rotation, but hemp has some excitement, and we're hearing numbers, some very high numbers in terms of returns per acre, numbers that frankly kind of scare me. They're talking thousands of dollars of acres, dollars of income per acre raising hemp, but we have to be careful not to get too much production before the market is there to absorb the increased production. And according to the informational hearing the other day, which I very much appreciated, that was put on by Chair Poppe concerning the ag portion of the bill, they've really had an increase in the number of applications that are looking to raise industrial hemp. And we want to make sure it's done right. The Department of Ag now is going to have expedited rulemaking and to come up with the rules governing the production of this potentially exciting new crop here in the state of Minnesota. So members, I would encourage a red, or I should say a green vote on this bill. It is a strong vote for agriculture in the state. And again, thank you all that worked on the bill. And again, vote green.
The member from Dakota, Representative Garofalo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members, and thank you to the conferees as well as Chair Poppe's not here, but thank you for her work on this as well. This is a compromise piece of legislation, and whenever there's compromise, there's going to be some level of excitement and some level of disappointment in the game of managing expectations at the end of session. I do want to highlight a couple numbers of why I'll be voting no on this bill today. First of all, it's important to recognize that this bill, while it's $59 million above target, is $33 million above last session's appropriation level. That's a 13% increase in suspending, which is a trajectory that is unsustainable. In addition, some of that revenue is supplied as a result of the general fund tax increase that appears to be contained in the tax bill. So those are two reasons why I'm opposed to it. And third and finally, and it should come as no surprise that I have to mention this, is the $40 million in broadband that are added to this bill. It is sad that we are continuing to squander limited state resources on a program which we can clearly see technology is resolving for us at a much more effective and fast manner. Just last night, coincidentally, 60 satellites were launched in one launch. 60 low Earth satellites for the coming evolution of what high-speed internet's going to be, satellites in low Earth orbit. This is on top of the advances we're already seeing deployed in cellular data, as well as in the area of fixed wireless and the existing geosynchronous satellites that are over our country. So for that reason and the others, I do want to, again, thank those who put work on this compromise piece of legislation, but today I'll be a no. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The member from Stearns, Representative Tice.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I too want to thank Chair Poppe for her work on the ag part of the bill, and also Chair Hausman for her work on the housing part of it. I really enjoyed being the minority lead on housing, and I look forward to working further next year on hopefully figuring out how we can get the costs down so that we don't have to worry about where's the money going to come from. We need to figure out the cost thing. But I'm really glad to see that we included the challenge grant, $5 million for that, and also homework. Oh, what is it called again? Homework starts with home. I don't know why, but I want to say something different. But that is very important, and I'm really glad to see that got funded, as well as some of the work we've done in manufacturing homes. Several folks have talked to me about, why do I want to talk about manufactured homes when I was in business for building for 30 plus years, and quite frankly, we can't afford to build what we can with offering manufactured homes. So that's a very important piece until we figure out the cost of building. And I would also say I'm really pleased to see the broadband stuff in here, because until Senator Howe gets broadband, nobody's going to be happy. Thank you.
The member from Blue Earth, Representative Munson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. This isn't a single subject bill. We're cramming agriculture and housing and broadband money together. Honestly, the agriculture bill is pretty good. And if it was an agriculture bill, I might even vote for this bill. But we are adding housing provisions in here, not only housing finance with over $100 million in bonding to pay to developers to build housing in some places where there's already a lot of housing. We see this in Mankato in my area, where we have developers building, and a lot of people who may want to build will just hold off and wait for that free government money to come. There's also housing policy in here, and some of this was contentious. We had a long debate on the housing bills in here that would be putting more regulations on landlords all over the entire state to address a problem that was identified at the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis. These housing regulations are being put on landlords, and it's in this bill, in the ag bill. And furthermore, broadband, as Representative Garofalo said, is old technology that is unnecessary. I know there's a lot of people out there lobbying for broadband, and a lot of people are misinformed because the broadband lobby is showing you maps of broadband, or where they show deserts for broadband, but they're not actually showing any wireless in there. And as I've mentioned before, I live in a broadband desert. I have 5 providers of broadband that meet our definition of broadband in my area, but it still shows up being in a broadband desert. I have the head of the Minnesota Telecom Alliance, the head of they call themselves the voice of broadband, threatening me in local papers because I speak out against broadband. A lobbyist threatening me in local papers. 2 days before we were going to vote on $70 million for broadband, of which his family owns a broadband company and receives $12,000 per customer to bring broadband to them, even though they already have access to broadband through wireless means. This is a gravy train of money for people. They're taking limited dollars. We should be using money to fight the opioid crisis with cash. We should be fixing our roads. Instead, we're dumping money, we're trenching it into the ground on decades-old technology when satellite and wireless and fixed wireless is already available. This is really disappointing that people continue to buy into this myth that we need to have all this money put into broadband, and that the lobbyists have grown so strong here at the Capitol to change how you vote. So I'm voting no today on this bill. I love the ag parts, disappointed at the broadband, and disappointed at the housing, and that we get to cram multiple subjects into one bill that is against our state's constitution for the single subject requirement.
The member from Cottonwood, Representative Hamilton.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I'd like to thank Chair Poppe for her work on this bill and all the conferees. You know, Madam Speaker, I was a little critical on the House floor the other night when this came to us, and I wanted to stress to everybody, it wasn't what was or was not into the bill. It was simply the fact that we didn't have enough time, Madam Speaker, to review it. And so I want to thank Chair Poppe for holding the listening session just a few days ago. And I hope that can be kind of the common theme from here on out. I mean, future legislators as well. And once it comes out of conferee, to bring it back to the conference committee and fully vet it one more time with what's actually in the bill. I really thought that was extremely helpful. Madam Speaker and members, I will be supporting this bill at this time. Thank you.
Any further discussion? The member from Rice, Representative Lippert.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, I also want to thank Chair Poppe and the other conferees, Chair Hausman too. It's an honor to serve on this conference committee. I think this is a very good bill. It's responding to the crisis in agriculture right now with support for dairy farmers and also support for commodity agriculture. Also, there's emergency preparedness in this bill to make sure that we're prepared for African swine fever. And industrial hemp was mentioned. It's supporting emerging markets. Farm to school is a part of this bill too, to make sure that we're supporting urban agriculture and getting healthy foods into our schools, to make sure we're supporting local farmers and local economies too. So it's a good bill, and I urge members to support it.
Is there any further discussion on Senate File 1? Seeing none, the clerk will take, Representative Hausman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I thought it might be helpful to remind members once again why ag and housing are together. We have them traveling separately here, but in fact in the Senate they meet a committee that is ag and housing. Can't explain that, but that is the reason they're contained in one bill. And they also had both policy and finance together, which we had separated early on. So it came back in a slightly different form than our House did. The needs are great. The needs are great all over the state, and this is one way to address it. I would appreciate a green vote.
The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will close the roll. There being 114 ayes and 14 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Messages from the Senate.
Message from the Senate, Madam Speaker. I hereby announce the passage by the Senate of the following Senate file herewith transmitted. Senate file number 3, message is signed Cal R. Ludeman, Secretary of the Senate.
First reading of Senate files.
First reading, Senate file number 3, an act relating to state government, appropriating money from outdoor heritage, clean water, parks, and trails.
First reading.
Pursuant to Article 4, Section 19 of the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, Winkler moves that the rule therein be suspended and an urgency be declared, and that the rules of the House be so far suspended so that Senate file number 3 be given its second and third readings and be placed upon its final passage.
Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker and members, this is the legacy bill. The motion will allow us to take it up today, and I would ask for a yes vote.
Representative New.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We've had a couple of days to review the legacy bill now, which we very much appreciate, and I would encourage a yes vote in favor of suspending the rules.
Representative Drazkowski.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Like the other two, I would urge you, our caucus would urge you to vote to suspend the rules in this particular bill.
All those in favor of the Winkler motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. The motion prevails. The clerk will give the bill its second reading.
Second reading, Senate File Number 3.
Second reading. There are no amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, Senate File Number 3.
Third reading. The member from Ramsey, Representative Lillie, to your bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. It's with great honor to have this before you today, and thank you for suspending the rules and moving this forward for Minnesota. The bill, as everybody's heard, it's the legacy bill, and it's coming back. And I'm just going to start at the back end again. And I don't know how much to do, but I definitely want to thank our staff. They do a great job in working on these bills and on both sides of the aisle. I'm not going to name all the names, but I do want to say a special thanks to the House staff and how hard they work. And that's the nice thing about being on the third floor. You get to spend a lot of time with the staff and to see what they're working on, a lot of the other bills you're working on, but they definitely helped us, and I'm grateful for their work. I see some of them in the back, and they know who they are, but thank you very much. So the legacy bill, we have a very strong bill that you have before us today, and it was the bill passed, as you all know, very late into session, and so we had a compressed conference committee. So much of the work was done originally in committee, and then kind of done later in the process as well. But we had a very strong team with my vice chair, Amy Wozlik, did a great job of being there, and Representative Wagenius and Representative Zhang, very strong work on our team, and I'm really grateful for that. And Representative Heitzman, I don't see him here today, but or just at this moment, but he did a great job. And believe it or not, I had a wonderful relationship with Representative Green, and I'm not sure, again, I want to say I'm not sure he likes being on our committee, but I very much value that you were there, and we definitely heard your voice and that sort of thing. And Representative Bull, you hit the ground running. And we also had two former chairs, Representative Erdahl. Thank you for your wisdom and leadership and putting together a good bill. And of course, Representative Murphy was there in the beginning and really laid a great base. So having those two great leaders, and every day Representative Gunther, he's not on the committee, but he reached out and a dear mentor, and fed me at the I-90 party and kept me strong and kept all of us strong. But I'm sorry to go backwards with the bill. That's not really anything to do with the bill, but this is kind of we're lucky to have this bill. It's a little bit of a happier place than some of the stuff that we're working on. But this bill itself is, I think, a win for Minnesota. It's $630 million that's dedicated to making our waters more fishable, swimmable, and drinkable, and definitely getting more folks outside to recreate, whether it's hunting and fishing or just so many of the wonderful things we can do in our state parks all over the state of Minnesota. And it's also dedicated to the arts and history, culture of Minnesota, all over Minnesota. If you can't, I really encourage you to take a look at this bill. There's some amazing things. We all should remind ourselves, in 2008, the voters approved this. I kind of think of this as a little special money, not that taxes aren't special, but this is a little different. The voters stepped up and they said, hey, we want to add this sales tax to ourselves. So we're about 10 years in, and I think this is really a bill that we all can be strong on and definitely support. And so I'm grateful to hear it. It went through conference committee, and we won some things and lost some things. But I think it's a very strong bill, and I'm sure your team Harry did a good brief, and our team did too. Please look at it. I'm not going to go through every item, but in the outdoor heritage part, and Representative Fabian and I were lucky to be on the Lessard Sams, and it's a very strong bill. And in that area, we're so blessed with so many great programs all over the state, like Pheasants Forever, Ducks Unlimited, Conservation Minnesota, but we have so many wonderful partners that really help do good work and enhance Minnesota. And again, that's all over Minnesota. And so there's some investments, and they're being very strategic with that, and doing some great work. And please take a look at the bill and you'll see that it's good. And this can, Representative Fabian can attest to that, I'm sure. The clean water is a combination. This is an area that the House, we had some losses, if you will, but I think it's a strong bill overall, and it's a combination of the House position, which I think was strong, in the Senate, and then with the governor, and then also with the Clean Water Council. Arts and culture, there's all sorts of things that are going on in here, and many things, again, you can be very proud of with our public radio, public TVs, and the Ampers. Amazing programming all over Minnesota. The zoos, many children's museums are popping up all over Minnesota. There's Representative Poston has a new one coming up in his area, and Senator Rude happens to be from that part of the town, so she very much cared about it, as do we. But there's all over a new one in St. Cloud, but there's also the existing ones, the children's museums, and this bill really is committed to those as well. Of course, the arts programs are all over Minnesota, and a lot of these go to different regions, and so great work being done and in that area. And anyways, you could talk about that all day, and I think we have a very strong bill, and I think the House did quite well in that area. And there's good work, especially in the cultural area. We have a changing face, as we all know, in Minnesota, and this bill strongly reflects that, and there's going to be more investments in the cultural area and diversity as we look to better serve Minnesota. So I think that's work we all can be proud of. Parks and Trails was kind of neat this year. There was really all three of them came at the table. Greater Minnesota, who's doing a great job of building out their systems. DNR, again, I mentioned the other day where they're doing great programming, getting folks out on the parks and trails with the ICANN program, and this bill commits to that and doing more good work in that area. There's also money for the metro area. Just to give you an idea, in the Parks and Trails area in the metro, before the legacy, there was about 30, they kind of track these numbers, and about 38 million users in the metro, and now it's up to close to 60 million users a year in the metro area, so it's very well loved. It's a very strong bill, and I just want to, just kind of in closing, we're very lucky to have this amendment, and we've, as a team, we've taken this work very serious, and we want to be able to look at folks and say that it's good work all over the state. And I think we can do that with this bill, and I hope you're behind it. And just kind of in closing, I asked for your vote, of course, but we are the envy of the country. A lot of states don't have this, and you can see when you get in these tough budget talks that to do some of this stuff would just be virtually impossible. But this is stuff that really enhances quality of life, for all of us, and encourages people to live and work here, and really what helps make Minnesota work, and appreciate your vote.
Any further discussion? Representative Green.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Lillie, thank you for the kind words, I think. I actually do enjoy serving on the Legacy Committee. And I do know that there are some things that the money does that is beneficial to Minnesota. But there's a lot of things in there in the Legacy bill that are not beneficial to Minnesota and are very harmful, in fact, to Minnesota. This year, when this bill came through the first time and passed off the House floor, we voted to put some language in there to prevent this money from being used to support acts of domestic terrorism. And that was voted on by this body because it has been used for that in the past. And unfortunately, in conference committee, that came off. And so what we are really telling people is, yeah, you can do that. You can go ahead and use that for promoting these acts. Another provision that came off in conference committee was since this bill was put into place, and especially since I've served on here, I've noticed that there is a provision in our amendment that says that this bill can only be used to supplement. It can't be used to supplant. You can't exchange this for existing funding. but it happens every year. And I know that there's a big book just on the Lessard Sam's part alone that I've found that no one ever goes through. And I go through that every year. And I can tell you that the money that is going out there, not only in the outdoor heritage, but also even more so in the arts and cultural heritage, is being used for projects that were funded in other ways before. And the funding from the general fund and other sources has gone down as legacy funds increase. So this amendment that we put on clarified what does it mean, because even our legislative auditor has said it's really hard to define what it means, supplement versus supplant. So while working with the legislative auditor, I got language put together that he felt would work when we start to determine whether or not these funds are being used according to the law. And thank you, Chairman Lillie, for putting that in the bill. But it was stripped out during conference. And over the years, I have voted for legacy bills. But when I do vote for them, it's because we get some reforms in them that I think are well needed. If you dig through where this money goes, especially in the Clean Water Fund, which I believe, by the way, is why people voted for this bill. It was pushed as the Clean Water Legacy. And when it was on the ballot, and that's what you saw, Clean Water Legacy, and who's going to vote against clean water because we all love clean water? But a big share of that money goes into research and research and research. And not enough of it goes on the ground for areas when we know that there's stuff out there that works that we should be putting this money into if we're going to spend it. And yet it never gets called on, never gets called out. The other problem I have with this is more and more I see within this body, this institution in fact, that our bodies, whether they be the House or the Senate, are abdicating their power. It's our job to make decisions on where money goes. And we may make good decisions, we may make bad ones, but we answer for that because we're elected by the people. I've never seen anything that comes through as bad as legacy where we just allow a group made up of appointed members to tell us where we're going to spend this money. And we never change anything. If Lessard Sam's is going to tell us how to spend the outdoor heritage funds, and the Clean Water Council is going to tell us where to spend the clean water funds, and we're going to give 47% of this money to the State Arts Board and just say, here you go, spend it on whatever you want, because we don't care. We're not even going to look at what you spend this on. Hundreds and hundreds of pages of grants that go out, and no one in here ever sees them. If we're going to do that, why are we even looking at it at all? Why don't we just give them the money and stop wasting the time? Because that's what we're doing. We're going through a bill, picking up, listening to what people tell us we have to spend the money on, and we're saying, okay, let's do that. Because it's just too hard. Going through it ourselves is just too hard. So, members, I'm not going to continue on this. I will say that one of the biggest problems that I've had with the bill is the purchasing of land. And I'm just going to end with this. In case you haven't heard me say it before, if we're not at 1/3 of the mass of Minnesota being in some kind of public hands right now, we're very, very close. And if you count the nonprofits, I would say we're over 1/3 of our land of mass in Minnesota that's no longer in the private sector. And what that means for us, and what that means for your children, is it's going to be very hard for them to even to afford to buy their own piece of land, should they choose to, in the future. So they're going to be stuck in an apartment building, high crime areas. What you believe is protecting money or protecting land and our environment is actually harming our freedom. You're taking away a staple of our freedom, which is the right to own your own property. This bill all by itself this year again buys over 10,000 acres of land. And for almost the same amount of money, it's enhancing 117,000 acres of land. If you want good use for this money, let's enhance what we have. The state alone has control over 8.5 million acres. And then we've given the federal government another 4 4 million acres, whatever it is. And then we also continue to put money into conservation easements. And what we've found over the years is that the people that buy into these conservation easements, they continue to pay taxes on their land, and that's okay until their payments run out. Now their land is locked up forever. They can't use it for anything that they want, but they continue to pay taxes, and they're already coming in and saying, cut our taxes because we can't use the land. Well, my response to that is you signed up for it, so pay the taxes. But sooner or later, this land is going to go tax forfeit. And even though I know most of you won't do it, if you get a chance to look at plat books for the counties, take an opportunity to look in there and see how much land is tax forfeited. And remember that that tax forfeited land came from, in a lot of cases, senior citizens on fixed incomes who couldn't afford to pay their property taxes, and it went back to the county, and then the state grabbed hold of it. So members, I'm not going to vote for this bill. I encourage that you would vote no on it too. I hope that you'll look into some of these things and not just take for granted that because somebody says this money all goes for good stuff, that it does. Because I'm telling you, it really doesn't. Thank you.
The member from Traverse, Representative Backer.
Madam Speaker and members, one of the challenges that we have with this bill is it really has, and Representative Green talked about it, it really is hurting our rural way of life. When you have so much land in public ownership and less than in private, it does not do anybody good. It doesn't do the taxpayers good because the property tax increases. Generally, if it's a public land, you can drive through the countryside. Members in the suburban area and also in the metro area, you can easily go into greater Minnesota and you can easily pick out which is public land because it's not taken care of. We as a state need to be better stewards. I agree with Representative Green. Instead of buying more land, we need to be investing and taking care of what we have. You know, this country was made on private ownership, and your children and grandchildren will have less opportunity. I'm sorry, Representative Lillie, what I'm hearing, this is not the envy of the country. And I respect you, but this is not the envy when you're taking private land out of ownership and keep doing it over and over and over. What we're doing is we're hurting our rural way of life, and we're driving up property values, and we're lowering taxes because less and less people. So for those over on the other side of the aisle who want smaller farmers, and I do too, it's harder and harder to do for young farmers because we as a state is bidding up the price of the land. So I like Representative Green, will be voting no for that reason. So thank you, members.
The member from Brown, Representative Torkelson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I stand because of the SWCD funding that's in this bill. I know it was a tough compromise. It was not a recommendation of the Clean Water Council, and not to differ with Representative Green, but once in a while we do make changes here at the legislature. You know, funding of the SWCDs has been a state-local partnership for a very long time. And we've had trouble recently finding those resources to make the state's contribution to this partnership. The proposal to offer them levy authority really would change that into a local partnership instead of a state and local partnership, and I think we should resist that. I appreciate the inclusion of substantial funding for SWCDs in this bill. I think it's the right thing to do. It seemed to be the only place we could find the money. I know it goes against the Clean Water Council's recommendations, and I think we need to apologize a bit for that, but it is the right thing to do, and it's the best thing for Greater Minnesota. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The member from Wabasha, Representative Truskowski.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, in 2008, the citizens of Minnesota passed an amendment with 55.99% of Minnesotans voting to set aside 0.3% of the sales tax to protect, restore, and enhance our resources. Nowhere in there did it say that we had to buy land.
Now, a lot of the activist groups, many of them which sit on these boards and councils that have formed around this particular amendment, seem to think that the only way that you protect resources is to have the government own it. And as Representative Green pointed out, and I pointed out on first passage, another 10,000 acres of private land is taken from the private sector and placed into government ownership, adding and adding to what's going to, by the end of this amendment in 2034, being somewhere in the neighborhood of 250,000 more acres of land that is brought or taken from private ownership and placed in the hands of government ownership. We are seeing the transfer of freedom to socialism happen before our eyes. Socialism means that the government owns the goods of production. The goods of production here is the land of the people of Minnesota. 250,000 acres. There's another 10,000 acres happening in this bill. And while Representative Lillie, you have worked hard on this bill, and I appreciate all your work, and I appreciate the candor that you and I share around these discussions. And I agree with Representative Torkelson. We have finally $24 million for the soil and water districts. Members, if we are going to use the money to protect and enhance and restore the water and other natural resources of the state of Minnesota, we got to move dirt. The dirt is moved by the soil and water districts in their work in the counties throughout the state of Minnesota. The dirt doesn't move at the University of Minnesota, where millions of dollars of this money has gone over time. The dirt doesn't move at the Pollution Control Agency and the numerous additional staff members that they have drawn off this amendment over time. The dirt doesn't move at the Department of Natural Resources and the staff members that they have added in the idea that they are going to protect resources from their agency building and their cubicle in St. Paul. The dirt doesn't move from the rest of the agencies, Bowser and others, as they build their staff and outreach and footprint through government in the state of Minnesota. That doesn't move dirt. The dirt is moved by the people on the ground working with farmers and landowners across this state. So I'm appreciative that we did actually establish in this bill this time that we have some money in there for the soil and water districts to help them do their job, because the soil and water districts help local people move dirt. That's what they do. And that has to happen if we're going to actually conserve our resources in this state. But members, this bill continues the process of buying state land that state government isn't even following our laws, as was pointed out earlier. Our noxious weed law is not even followed on the state property throughout Minnesota. Over 8 million acres of government-owned land in the state of Minnesota, and they aren't following the law. But of course, if you're a landowner or farmer or other person who owns land in Minnesota, you are required to follow that law. Members, Representative Lillie, thank you for your work on the bill. Some very good things in here, but I can't vote for a bill that continues to stomp forward and take money out of the private sector and place it into this ever-growing government that continues to accumulate that and take away our freedoms. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The member from Itasca, Representative Lehman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Would the author of the bill, Representative Lillie, yield?
He will yield. Representative Lehman.
Okay, Representative Lillie, thank you for your work on this. When this bill passed out of the House, there was some direct funding for children's museums. And as you probably know, I have a children's museum in Grand Rapids that I'm fond of. And we had a direct appropriation for that museum. I don't see direct appropriations for children's museums, but I was happy to hear in your summary of the bill that you are supportive and that the bill does continue to support children's museums. Could you explain how that's going to happen? Thank you.
Representative Lillie.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and Representative Lehman. The Senate position on this was different than ours, as you mentioned. We specifically named the children's museums, but the Senate would not go for that. So what we did is we did a fund, and so all the children's museums will have access to those funds and can apply for grants out of that, including yours and Representative Poston's and Representative Wogelmont's and someone out in Litchfield, I believe there's one, Wheel and Cog, but there's the others can apply for this through the grants. So the money is actually greater than we had. The number went up, but these all these groups then will apply for it, and I certainly hope that, and the intent is that your group would be successful as well as the others.
Representative Lehman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just a quick follow-up question, if the author would yield again.
He will yield. Representative Lehman.
I think that the Senate was probably made a good decision. I think a competitive grant process is probably more appropriate in this case. But I'm wondering who will administer that. If you could tell us and tell the listeners at home who will administer that competitive grant program.
Representative Lillie.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and Representative Lehman. So the grants that'll go out to the children's museums will be overseen by the Humanities Center, and they're kind of set up to do this type of work. And so they'll each group will come in and do a proposal and then apply for the grants. And they've done some of this in the past, and I think it'll work out quite well. I'm hoping. In this business, though, you typically would like to have them specifically named. I thought ours was a little bit better, but that was a fight that we lost on.
Representative Lehman. The member from Martin, Representative Gunther.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Madam Speaker, excuse me. I listened to all the people talk about the legacy bill, and I was a chairman of that bill committee at one time myself, and I look at the arts complaints that why are we giving money to the arts? Why do we do that? Well, all the letters that you have gotten and will get from the various Arts Council award winners will come to your office, and you'll know the importance of them. And for the major new land that we're getting, remember, most of that land this year was for county forests, where those counties are going to make money from those forests. And those counties are going to support an industry up north that is a little bit hurting. So I think it's a good way to do it. And recreation, ATVs use our trails. I think you sell them. I think I'd watch what you're saying. Hunting and fishing, they support the DNR. The number of people that hunt and fish are getting lower and lower. We have to get more. You can't find hunting and acres in southern Minnesota unless you go to Pheasants Forever Land, because the landowners don't want people to come on their land because of the liability for some of the laws that we here passed. So I think it's very nice to have hunting and fishing facilities, and the DNR needs all the help they can get, because I hear they're broke most of the time. CRUP funding is another thing that I think is wonderful. I think that really does a lot for us. And Representative Driskolski, it's not 10,000 acres, because most of that land is owned by the county for forests. Not part of it, but most of it. So it's land that our counties can there make a profit from, and we can enhance an industry. So I think this is a great bill. I think it's very well balanced, and I will promise you I'll vote green.
The member from Meeker, Representative Erdahl.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members, and thank Representative Lillie and those who worked on this for the fine job that they did. May repeat a couple things that I've said before, because I've probably given this speech, has it been 10 years now? In the middle of the Great Recession, the people of Minnesota voted to raise their taxes because they were concerned about the environment, about water, about culture, about our history. And so, contrary to all kinds of beliefs at that time, they passed this bill. And Leon, Representative Lillie, has followed in the tradition of trying to spend this money as fairly and as equitably as can be spent. Now, I don't think that any of us who have chaired this committee have ever been 100% successful with that. It's a tricky bill to put together, and sometimes a tricky bill to pass. But we have tried very hard to meet the expectations of the people of Minnesota. And so, for that reason, I will be voting green, again, knowing that there are some things that maybe folks don't like, maybe I don't like, but in general, this is a pretty darn good bill. And so, we need to vote for clean water, for libraries, for the arts, for natural resources, and all of these other things that the people expect. And, this land isn't taken, as the expression has been used. It's willingly sold by people to the state of Minnesota for these purposes.
The member from Pope, Representative Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Representative Lillie, thank you for the bill. I especially appreciate the funding for the SWCDs because they are the ones that at least get the dirt moving, at least make the arrangements to get the dirt moving out in greater Minnesota, and they appreciate the funding as well. We've had some discussion about state ownership of land, and I have a little bit different opinion on that, and there is a lot of concern about the private tax roll shrinking as more land is made public. But one thing that's occurring that I really have an issue with is some of these organizations come to the state and get money, I think, from this bill, and then they go back out and they pay above appraised value for land. It happened a mile away from my farm. A couple of quarters of land that had been farmed by two different farmers came up for sale. They put bids in on the land, and they were outbid, I believe it was by Pheasants Forever. And that land then was taken off of ag production. And for the next year, it was there were a lot of weeds growing out there, and we had some concerns about all the weed seed flying all over. But again, my concern, I think there should be some guardrail about private organizations having access to state money. They should follow the same rules as well about not paying above appraised value, because they're just outbidding our farmers for some of this land if it's ag land. So that's one thing I'd like to see worked on as we move ahead and level that playing field between those that want to productively farm the land and those that want to preserve it for feathers and birds and deer, which is a good thing as well. But we need to keep that tax roll strong in rural Minnesota.
Any further discussion on Senate File 3? The member from Ramsey, Representative Wozlowick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just want to again say that there are a lot of good things in this bill all across the state in a lot of our districts, probably most of our districts. Representative Lillie and I actually had the opportunity to go over to the State Arts Board office earlier this week in a little bit when we had a little free time. And we were able to see the display that's celebrating the 10 years of investment that has come from the legacy funds to the State Arts Board. And we saw some really cool stuff, cool art, but also some great information about who the Arts Board, who these grants are going to. Organizations that work with adults with disabilities so that they're able to create art. Organizations that work with seniors who are in facilities so that they're able to exercise their creativity and have some social time with other members of their community. Students, we saw a great project from some kindergartners where they actually got to, in a very diverse school, where they actually got to paint pictures of their friends and then talk about why they like their friends and what they like about their friends. So some very cool stuff going on in the arts part. That's happens to be my favorite piece of the legacy. But there's also some really great stuff in here for parks and trails. There's some really great stuff in here for outdoor heritage and lots of good things. So I encourage members to vote green.
Any further discussion to Senate File 3? Representative Lillie.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Thank you for the robust discussion. I'm kind of glad we don't have any amendments today. That was not as much fun that day, but you know, this really is a great bill, and I encourage you really to take a look. And there's some amazing projects all over the state, and Representative Erdahl mentioned some, and Representative Gunther mentioned some, and Representative Waslick. And quite honestly, I hear the discussion quite loudly by people with the concerns of the lands. I just want to say this story once. Remember about a year ago, there was, I wanted to say this the other day, but I we got a little carried away on other issues. But remember where the guy went and hunted the lion in Africa and all that stuff? And then that guy came back to Minnesota, and you find out he was on his farm or his hunting area in Minnesota. And this guy had a 5,000-acre hunting area. And so my point is this, you know, I'm lucky enough to live near water. This guy's lucky enough to have some land. But quite honestly, you know, most Minnesotans aren't as lucky as he is and I am, and maybe Representative Herdos with his 23 boats. 14, sorry. But anyways, you know, that's what this legacy is about. It's about preserving and protecting some of that and getting people, you know, like a city park maybe, to be able to get on this land. So there's some of that goes on too, that if it wasn't for this money, if it wasn't for this opportunity, some people wouldn't be able to get on the land. So kind of keep that in mind too. And I'm very sympathetic to some of the bookends. And but anyways, it's a great bill. Please take a look at it, and really, I guarantee you, your community is benefiting, whether it's through the historical grants, your libraries, trails dollars. There's so many things that I know when I look around this room, you know, children's museums, on and on. I know your communities are benefiting. So please vote green.
The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will close the roll. There being 103 ayes and 23 nays, the bill is passed and its title agreed to. Representative Winkler.
Madam Speaker, I move a recess to the call of the chair.
Representative, anybody else want to speak to the move to recess? Representative Drzkowski.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The new House Republican Caucus will meet downstairs in 111B.
Representative Winkler. Do DFL members have to go anywhere during this recess?
Madam Speaker, DFL members should not go too far away from the House chamber during recess.
Representative New.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. GOP members should also not go far.
Representative Erdahl.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I meant to mention this earlier. If you're looking to go somewhere else, there may be a little cheese left from cheese balls in the retiring room. My wife Karen made them again. Usually we have 17 years in a row now, cheese day, and the outlet store closed, so we have to make our own cheese balls now.
Let's all show our appreciation for Representative Erdahl and the cheese. Representative Winkler moves a recess to the call of the chair. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, please say no. The House is in recess.